Good evening, and thank you for coming to the 2014 School Board Candidate Forum. My name is Jessica Guile, and I am the PTA Vice President. Tonight, we'll have an opportunity to meet the 4 candidates for the 3 open school board positions. The Parent-Teacher Association does not endorse any particular candidate, but sponsors these forums in an effort and as part of its mission to connect the school and the community. We do this by helping give voters the opportunity to meet the candidates and learn about the issues in their positions. Before we have our candidates come up here, we wanted to let you know that Superintendent Bob Indahar is here, and he's agreed to give us some information about the state of the school and what it means to be a school board member. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about Moose Lake Schools and what we've been doing lately, and talk about what it means to be a board member. And I was trying to debate what's the best way to talk about our school, because we have so much stuff going on. And what I came down to was I'm going to go over kind of our strategic goals for the next 3 to 5 years and talk a little bit about what we're doing in that direction. Our first goal was to be a leader in the area for education as determined by test scores, course offerings, choices, co-curricular opportunities, and graduates who are prepared for their next transition. So that was our first goal. And I do want to say, and I'm very proud to say, that we did very well this year on our test scores. Our MMR scores and our MCA scores were one of the highest in the area. And the thing that I'm most proud of is that this has occurred over and over and over again. Moose Lake is known as a leader in education in this area. We changed to the trimester schedule this year. We had been on the trimester for many years. We went to the 7 period, now we're back to the trimester schedule because we believe it gives us more curricular offerings. You know, the thing in a smaller school is it's tough to get a lot of different curricular offerings, but statistically, when you look at the trimester schedule, you are able to offer more courses. And then, as far as our students, over 70% of our students go on to some form of further education, and that's pretty good for a small school. Our second goal was to have 8 weeks of unassigned expenditures in the general fund. Well, we have not met this goal. We've taken measures to get closer to meeting that goal. This year we did $275,000 worth of cuts. Actually, we did that last spring. But one of the things that you do as a school board member is you kind of have to balance what your beliefs are for a quality education with the finances that you get. And I can tell you that the board at this point has chose to keep low class sizes and have adequate counseling. And with that, I mean, that comes at a cost. The third goal we have is that Moose Lake Schools will have a safe, secure, and up-to-date building which is conducive to student learning and accessible to the community. Well, we haven't achieved that yet, but that's what the bond is all about. And one of our focuses, if the bond does pass, will be to try to figure out how we can have things in the building that will draw the community in it. You know, the flood not only hurt the building and the perception the community has of the building, but we lost over 30 students the year after the flood, the year after the flood. Our fourth goal was to be a source of pride for students and the community. The district will develop mutually beneficial strategic partnerships with business, government, and other, and the community. One of the things that we're looking at, and the board has been talking about quite a bit lately, is branding. Who are we as a school? And so that's one of the things we're looking into. We have the longest sports liaison or partnership with another school in sports of any school in the state. This is our 30th year we partnered with Willow River. We have partnerships with Mercy Hospital where our students take classes to go into the medical field. We worked with the city to sell our land to a developer. We rent our family center to the county. And at the beginning of this year, we started to provide childcare, which has benefited the parents and our bottom line. As of today, I'm happy to say we're up 15 students, so that's good. So those were our strategic goals for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, what does it mean to be a school board member? According to the Minnesota School Board Association, this is the work of a school board member. You are to develop a vision for the school district. You are to set goals and monitor progress. You establish school policy. You hire, direct, and evaluate the superintendent. You attend training in governance and educational issues. You align resources with goals. You collaborate with community partners. You ensure facilities are safe and adequate. You communicate with your stakeholders. You monitor student achievement. You approve collective bargaining employee contracts. And you advocate student needs to lawmakers. If this is what you want to do, I applaud all of you and thank you for taking an interest in guiding the direction that Moose Lake Schools is going. Good luck to all of you.
There we go. Tonight our moderator is Lisa Rialoma, a parent of 2 high school students who's also been a longtime member of the PTA. Lisa will be asking the candidates a series of prepared questions that the candidates were given ahead of time. We are not going to have an opportunity for questions from the audience during this portion, but we do invite everyone to join us after the candidate forum in the library, where we'll have an opportunity to have some refreshments and where you can ask your questions that may not have been addressed during our forum. So at this time, I guess first I'd like to invite Lisa Rialoma to come up and also introduce our 4 candidates. First, we'd ask Julie Peterson to come on up, followed by Tom Paul, Stephen Blondo, and Chris Lyons. And if they can each have a seat at the table, I will turn it over to Lisa from here. Thank you. You get to pick.
Just like in my family, I get the last seat.
Hi, thank you everyone for coming tonight. We have about 6 questions, I believe, for the candidates. They've all seen the questions, hopefully, before tonight, so that they're not caught completely off guard. And we will start out simply by just asking them to introduce themselves and tell us something that they would like us to know just in general about themselves. And they just each have a minute to do that. And you can grab the microphone right there on the table. Chris, we can start with you. And we'll just go down the row.
Okay.
Are you going to start? Because
Yep.
I got lots to say here. Probably one of the oldest. Okay, good evening. Good public education matters. My name is Chris Lyons. I have 39 years of educational experience. Over my teaching career, I was a substitute teacher in the Duluth area, did a teaching Fulbright exchange to England, and have taught at Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College as an adjunct professor for 2 years, besides teaching language arts here for 33 years. My qualifications are as follows. I graduated with honors from Proctor High School. I earned a Bachelor of Science degree from Bemidji State College in Speech Theater and Mass Communications with magna cum laude honors. I have an English certification from the University of Minnesota Duluth, as well as a coaching certification. I graduated from St. Scholastica Duluth with a Master of Education in Curriculum plus 45 graduate credits. Specifically to the school board, I have completed the Minnesota State School Board Association phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 with over 100 hours of education and received a certificate of recognition. I do officiate high school sports through the Minnesota State High School Association, both volleyball and softball. I am still directing plays. I volunteer here in a reading program and at museums in Moose Lake and Proctor. I've completed 1 term on the Moose Lake School Board, 3 as chairperson. I have a dog, a border collie, named Mabel after my grandma. I believe best practices are vital to good public education. I believe our kids deserve the best we can give.
Thank you. And I did forget to mention, just so if you want to check up every once in a while, look at Sarah Thiessen out there. She'll hold up a 15-second card when you're running out of time, so you just know to wrap it up, and that's just so we keep things moving. But thank you, Chris. Go ahead, Steve.
My name is Stephen Blondo. First, I want to say thank you to the PTA for putting this event on. Thank you to the public that made it tonight. I'm a dad. I'm a parent of 3 students here in the Moose Lake school system. Ainsley, our youngest, is in kindergarten, and Sebastian and Julian, the twins, are in 3rd grade. My family and I moved to the area about 5 years ago. We saw the area filled with opportunity. Not only is it a nice place to live, but it's a great place to raise kids. I have a master's degree and own my own company. We live and own on a small and live on a small farm. Education experiences. I come from a family of educators, parents and family members that were teachers and educational staff. I grew up in a sort of medium-sized elementary school and high school in South Dakota, where I graduated, went on to college. Growing up in such an environment, I learned a lot about what worked in schools and what doesn't work and what challenges there are. I've witnessed a lot as a community member and a parent with small children here in the Moose Lake school system, and would like an opportunity to try and put some of some of these practices and some of these ideas I have to work.
Thank you, Steve.
Good evening. Hey, there you go. Good evening. My name is Tom Paul. I am originally from Duluth, but I've lived in Moose Lake for the last 20 years. I'm married to Amanda Rasmussen, and if anybody knows that name, her mother is the secretary of Barnum School, so I was actually able to take a Barnum girl and get her to Moose Lake and get her kids and the grandkids to Moose Lake School. I also have 2 kids. Right now I have 3 in school, a 6th, 8th, and 11th grader, and my son that's graduated from here. He graduated at the top of his class and is currently probably going to be able to graduate in 5 to 6 semesters because of some of the things that Moose Lake schools were able to offer him. I was given the opportunity to represent the City of Moose Lake as the administrative flood manager during the flood, doing all the work with FEMA and Homeland Security. I've also been a business owner. I've been a firefighter for 20 years for Moose Lake Fire and EMT for Mercy Hospital for 15. And I was appointed as a member of the school board, taking Pete Steen's position. I'll keep it short.
Thank you, Tom.
Hello. My name is Julie Peterson, and everybody else sounds really good here, so let's hope I can keep up. I am from Cromwell High School. I graduated as salutatorian. I'm also say that because we were all talking about all the things we've done. Lived in Moose Lake for 42 years, married a local Moose Lake boy. We raised our 2 children here. It's a great place to raise kids. It's a wonderful community. Both of them are successful, did well in school. I graduated from UMD with a teaching degree and actually taught here for a short time before having kids, and then went to work in my parents' nursing home, and currently we and my husband, my family, my children converted the nursing home into assisted living, and we own the assisted living Villa Court in Cromwell. I've been on the Moose Lake Public Library Board and the Arrowhead Library Board, and been a Girl Scout leader, just been involved in things. I've been on the school board for over 20 years here in town, and really feel strongly about this school district and this community, and feel that we need to do everything we can for our kids to make them sure that they have a wonderful education, good experience here in the school. That's all.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, we will move on to the next question. We will start this question with Steve. I'm going to rotate, so you each have a turn to go first and last. The next question will be, what are 3 things you would like to see accomplished if you are elected or re-elected to the board? And how do you see you getting it done, and how would it be funded?
Okay, thank you. The first thing I want to say is I believe that we are at a turning point as Moose Lake School. The first thing the newly elected board will oversee either construction of a new school, infrastructure issues, a challenge. Either overseeing the construction of a new school, making many important decisions about the current mission, future vision of the school district, how that is placed into the construction of the new school, or should the bond unfortunately not pass, they will be faced with the hard decisions regarding the funding and repairing of these existing facilities. The second thing I would like to see accomplished is increased transparency. We could televise the board meetings. We could do more with community involvement and outreach. Board members could be involved in community and school events, bridging that gap between the community and the school. Setting this up would be easy. Limited funding would be involved. Paybacks of the community and school cooperation would be worth the small investments. I think the current board does a good job at this, but I think we could do more. Also, I would like to see accomplished some level of self-sustainability. The opportunity with the new school being green, energy efficient, sustainable, can cut costs, save us money on operating costs. But what about taking that further? What about introducing orchards, gardens, utilizing some of that food then to the students? This is an old concept. Schools used to do, facilities used to do. Let's reintroduce some of that. It's a pretty hot issue right now across the country. We can follow up with that. The cafeteria is doing a great job currently meeting federal standards for food. Let's build on this. Let's look at some farm to school opportunities. We have a lot of farmers out there that are raising animals that we could, or food that could be served in our school system. Why not bridge the gap between the two? Access to fresh and local food is great. If we have something, let's use what we have on hand. Another thing, the school newsletter was cut due to some budget concerns. What about utilizing high school English or journalism classes to continue to produce it? Maybe an electronic version possibility. Let's promote more athletic and activity booster clubs to help with funding activities. And how to get these things done, how would we fund? A lot of these would fund themselves once started, or a small investment would give us the larger payback. So the funding would really almost be a benefit. How to get it done is just working together to get these things done. Cooperation between the school board, the staff and administration at school, and the community.
Three things that I'd really like to see that I think we need to work on. I think the school really does a really good job at educating our kids. This building obviously has issues, but I think one of the key things that we have are excellent staff. We have a lot of master's degree teachers that can teach higher level classes, so I'd like to see more electives, more college level courses offered. But to accomplish this, we need more students. When you look at open enrollment, we are positive in open enrollment. I think the last number I saw, there's about 150 kids that open enroll into our district and about 100 that go out. So if we can recapture some of those students that have left and decided to go to another school, I think that the more students we have, the more that we're being able to offer. I think that it's good to keep kids busy. So I think after school, extracurricular activities are key. If they're doing stuff after school, it's really hard to get in trouble. So I'd like to see more arts, music. I'd like to also see additional electives, like one of the things that we had talked about is a robotics program. Right now in the state of Minnesota, in the state of hockey, there are more robotics programs than there are hockey teams in high schools. There are some other issues or other advantages that we could do to be able to keep our children involved. One of the hardest things, though, that I'd like to see accomplished is to control deficit spending. Like Bob had said, we went through and made some very difficult cuts, cut $275,000 out of the budget. However, some of that was through attrition of 2 teachers. However, with the numbers of children that we had in kindergarten and first grade, we made the decision to hire 2 more teachers back. So we went to 3 sections. We also increased our DCD program and added a second DCD teacher. So those are all good things, but it's very difficult to control a budget. Really, there's small things that we could do here or there, but the changes need to happen at the state level. Bottom line is, the more students that we have, the more fiscal sound we'll be, and the more options we'll be able to give our students.
Okay, 3 things that I like to see accomplished. Well, I suppose the one and only above everything would be to have a new school built in our district. But we all know that that's a goal for all of us at this table. So I'll talk about my dream to have more vocational classes. I think that we do a really good job of getting our kids ready for college, but I think we have to address some of the needs of the other kids that maybe aren't heading to college. 70% of ours go on to other classes, but maybe 30% want to go into construction trades or whatever else there is. And that would include things like robotics and CAD training and mechanics and plumbing and just all the trade type things, so people at least get an idea of how to fix something at home when they're married and have a family and have a home. I would also like to see more college level classes. We have 22 right now in the school. We have wonderful teachers, and it would be nice to have more college level classes in the school, so you can graduate with a year or 2 of college behind you before you even leave the doors. It's so much better to take the classes here in school and have that high school experience than to leave and go PSEO to Fond du Lac or Lake Superior College. Kids just don't realize what a wonderful time and great experience these last couple of years of high school are. They'll never get them back if they leave, and it's important to keep the kids in school. And the last thing I'd like to see is, hopefully this would be addressed in the most part with a new school, but if it's not, we need to look at safety. I mean, it's a horrible issue in all over the United States right now, even in Canada, which is sad to say. We need to address all these exits we have in this school. If we don't get a new school, we've got to do something about controlling the people that go in and out of the school and make sure our kids and our staff feel safe in this school.
Three things I would like to see accomplished are the facilities project completed with emphasis on enrollment, the block scheduling fully developed with improvement in test scores by emphasizing reading and developing the skill so all students' lives are enriched by that skill. And finally, more classes in the construction and healthcare areas where students can have opportunities for real-life occupations. And as we get older, and some of you may go use the Gateway Clinic or whatnot, you're gonna run into a Moose Lake grad. And so it's really refreshing to see them as grown-ups and then working with them. So, we have an opportunity with facilities because of the legislation and the triple equalization. We listen to the public and have been part of the funding process by going to the Capitol with Superintendent Indahar, working with Rushford Peterson Group and the lobbyists. I have visited with legislatures and the Lieutenant Governor. We have kept Moose Lake in mind for safety by considering making a safe room with the help of Homeland Security for the community after experiencing the flood of 2012. There is money available. Enrollment has been increased by looking at data and adding Latchkey and Mini Moose. We look at various data on many issues to make decisions. We need to update the branding of our school with the emphasis on our academics and consistent high testing. Returning to the block scheduling should improve the academics as proven by the data of the past. Tweaking the scheduling will make this place a good fit for our students to excel by the restructuring of the day. Reading should be emphasized to help achievement in all areas. I would like to see our volunteer reading program expanded, which I participate with on Wednesdays, and we would welcome any of you, if you're not doing anything between 11:30 and 12:30, come on down to the old home ec room, and we work with second and third graders. So come join us in the elementary. I would like us to collaborate in partnerships with area businesses from construction to health to give our kids an opportunity to succeed in life, careers. Grant writing has always been underutilized, so perhaps that is an area to develop. Our kids deserve what we can call Moose magic. Let's make it happen.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to the second question, and we'll have Tom be the first one to answer this. This question is, what do you see as the board's roles and responsibilities?
Well, it's actually kind of nice because Bob kind of went over the whole thing already and answered just about everything, so it makes it kind of interesting and it makes it pretty easy. But realistically, what the school board's responsibility is they are legally charged with governing the district. And we are responsible to the community to govern efficiently and effectively. Really, there's four main roles that need to be looked at. It's vision, structure, accountability, and advocacy, if I could speak. The vision is what Bob was talking about, the 3 to 5 year vision, where we're going, where we'd like to see, what we'd like to see accomplished, and how we're going to attain that. The structure is Superintendent Innahar. It's being able to hire a superintendent that is delegated to make sure that everything gets done. He's responsible for the direct performance and compliance of all of our current policy. And if you ever have a chance to look at the Moose Lake actual policies, you would be surprised. Chris, it's what? Oh, yeah, it's big. It's crazy. As far as accountability, the board is accountable to the community for constantly monitoring the conditions that affect the district. So the flood was a big thing. It greatly affected the district. What are we going to do with a foot of water and almost $1 million worth of damage in the elementary? And how are we going to go about making sure that our students are safe, secure, in a clean environment? And then advocacy is, we need to have that vision by focusing student achievement, partnering with community, and being proactive in addressing issues as far as education on a local, state, and federal level. And we really need to make sure that community-wide concerns and values are supported as we support our students.
My answer will be a little shorter. I think the board's roles and responsibilities are to have a vision for the school district and to set policies that bring our district into the direction of that vision. It's very important that we hire a good superintendent and make sure that he does his job. And we are also here to advocate for students. Everything we do is for the kids.
So some of this is going to sound the same, but we didn't talk to anybody, which means we've all done a good job at knowing what we're supposed to be doing. So the board's roles and responsibility are to govern efficiently and effectively. We should have vision. We do this by formulating goals, defining outcomes, set a course for the district, monitor district performance and evaluate success, make sure gain in student achievements are being made, and direct the superintendent. We have structure and process. We create an environment where all students are provided with an opportunity to attain maximum potential. We work with the superintendent and hold him accountable. We evaluate the superintendent and our own performance annually. We delegate matters to the superintendent to recommend and evaluate all district happenings. We accept the ultimate responsibility for the care and improvement of the district. We control the direction of the district. We have accountability for the district. We use data and other education to assess progress. We monitor data, and I can't emphasize that enough. We are always looking at data. We are advocates for education in our community. We use two-way communication to build trust and support from our community. We build values that support student achievement. We utilize a systematic process to follow the flow of information into and out of the district. We conduct school business with discussion in a fair and respectful manner. We encourage the board to express individual opinions, and we respect those opinions. We speak with one voice after reaching a decision. We have ongoing training. We follow established policies. We use a chain of command. We are respectful. This is a very important task that affects all our futures.
Perfect timing.
What do I see as the board's roles and responsibilities? Like as fellow board members have actually stated, and Bob stated, the roles and responsibilities have been kind of outlined. But I see the board as, like in a company, you have shareholders and you have a board of directors and you have a boss, the head of the company. And to that extent, I see the school board acting as a liaison between the school, the company, and the community, the shareholders, the ones who have elected the school board members into their job, who are paying the taxes that basically pay for the business to run. And to that end, I believe that involvement in community, transparency, and open dialogue and communication are key aspects to running a successful company or a successful school. I think a second thing that the board role and responsibility is a very delicate dance, the balance between keeping a budget and meeting the school and the children's needs. And how that balance actually is done, you need to look at some big picture decisions sometimes, that sometimes you have to make difficult decisions, whether that's cuts or whether that's spending at a short term to make up for a longer return on investment later on. And I think lastly, one of the board's roles and responsibilities really is to support our children who attend this school, to support our community who keeps the finances coming in the door, to support administration, to support our superintendent, but also to support the teachers and the staff that do make Moose Lake the best school here in the area. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. We will start the third question with Julie. And that is, what is your vision for education in the community, and how does it support the economy and quality of life in the community?
Well,
Sorry. I think we do a good job of educating our students, but a new school, or our school right now, would become a hub for the entire community with opportunities for everyone, from early childhood to senior citizens. We would have emphasis on lifelong learning. We would have more choice in electives, more extracurricular activities, an expanded community ed program that would embrace the older people in the community. I want our school to be a focal point and a place where people will feel welcome and safe. I also think that we need to look at what the local economy is looking for as far as workers, whether it's in the trades or if it's people that go to college, but we need to work and encourage job growth in the area and encourage our youth to stay in the community, because this is a great place to raise your families.
My vision for education is the school and area must work together. I believe the district and community are about to bust out all over from the decisions that we have made and the opportunities available. Just us selling the land to the city on 73 and the recent opening of McDonald's, and actually I was in the reading program on Wednesday and Vicki Ratzak asked all the kids who had been to McDonald's, and there wasn't one kid that didn't raise their hand. And so it's exciting to think that we're part of that. Moose Lake is the second largest city in the county and is on the brink of positive growth in many areas to emerge out of the flooding to thrive as a place people will want to choose to raise kids or retire with all the amenities at hand. And so we have so many things to offer. We need district and community pride and commitment to our town to allow people to learn all their lives. Public library is a happening place, and you can go down there, and they just did that beautiful piece of artwork that's outside. Check it out if you haven't seen it. We want to make this happen together. Be proud and loud about our school and our community. Go Moose Lake.
When I looked at this, I saw a simple equation. Successful students, which we have with our high test scores and our very successful, happy students, plus a supportive community equals more opportunities and better quality of life for everyone involved. How do we achieve this? I think a few things can help us to achieve this. Promoting technology at school, which you guys have done a wonderful job of, but also at home, because a lot of students have access to technology here, but we have to remember we have a very large rural population who does not necessarily have access to the technology at home. How do they take that technology back and forth? How do they help their parents once they're home, or grandparents, whoever it is they live with, to see this technology as the future? Also, just how do we retain people after they graduate? We want to send our students off to be successful for the world. We want to send them off to college. We want to send them off to a training program, a school experience, something, so that they gain a skill and they gain a job, a career. But how do we get them back once they are done? And I think the way we get them back is to make sure that they have something to come back to. And that would be that good school, so that when they get around to raising their kids, they come back, because I want my kids to go to Moose Lake because I had a lot of good experience here. I want my kids to have that good experience here. And we have a good economy and a good community. We need to retain those students after graduation. Not saying we have to keep them here. We can't send them to college in Moose Lake, but we need to make sure that once they're done, they come back and then have some more better community.
Well, my vision for Moose Lake actually is extremely bright. Having worked through the whole flood and seeing the devastation that happened, there were some times that I was extremely worried. But this town really came together. You gotta remember that it was just it was less than a week and a half before the 4th of July. Lakeshore Drive was devastated. There was actually, my old house used to be the first house on Lakeshore, and there was 4 feet of water in that house. But we were able to go through, and one of my goals was to make sure that we had the Moose Lake Parade. We always have the 4th of July parade. We needed to get the city cleaned up and do that. This town came together and did more work and more things, and it was amazing. And I think what's going to happen again is I think that's going to happen with this bond. I think out of something horrible, something very, very good is going to come. I see the school continuing to provide a superior level of education. Our teachers and staff do an excellent job. I would like to see expanded resources, electives, extracurricular activities. I want to see the whole community standing for quality education and standing for our staff. I think a new facility that would accommodate and promote opportunities that just aren't possible with this school. Recently, my mother just had a total knee replacement done. She literally could not get into this building right now. So to be able to have a brand new facility that's handicap accessible, that anybody can get to, that's controlled, that's safe, is highly important, and I see that happening. I also see a new school that could be a major building block for residential and commercial growth. I think once that's there, the Highway 73 corridor will explode with lots of new businesses. And I think with that will be an increase in the number of students that we will be fortunate to educate in a thriving community.
Okay, thank you. We will start back over again with Chris with this question. And the next question is, what areas and programs do you consider most vital and deserving of protection from budget cuts?
Well, I'd like to answer that all programs are vital, so we don't take any of them lightly. Sometimes we have to reevaluate and adjust. We need to be creative and fair. I like the idea where everybody loses a little to understand the sacrifices that sometimes must be made by everybody. We are in this together. I like to look for solutions together. Classroom and personnel should be the last to be affected. And we did make some very difficult decisions with the budget. And then we were flexible enough that we added back. And so it's kind of a seesaw sort of thing. And I don't think that people always see the complete picture. So it isn't like, it looks like, oh, we took one program on because we didn't, like something or whatever. That's not how it works. We're constantly looking at the data, and we're trying to stay away from personnel, and we're trying to make sure that our kids get the best education that they can in the classroom. And that's kind of how we look at it all. It's a complete picture. I want to state again, all programs are vital. Thank you.
This was a pretty easy question, I felt, when I was looking over them. Most important, ECFE, school readiness, and the Mini Moose Lodge. This is how we get students in the door. This is how we keep students. This is how we get some of those students back that have gone to other daycare facilities or other at-home care. The board must continue to support this. After the ECFE school readiness and Mini Moose, the next is small class sizes in kindergarten, first and second grade. We've gotten our students in the door, let's keep them here. Small class sizes is one of the most important differentiators that Moose Lake can have. Instead of parents going to the school board every year, fighting to add a third section, I would love to see the school board in the upcoming years pass a policy committing to an extra section when enrollment numbers were at a certain point at a certain day. This is what is best for our kids and best for our community. Each class is different. I've met kids in 5th grade, they're not the same as the 6th grade kids. Each class of students have different interests, different levels of involvement in different programs. Easy targets that should always be protected are library, art, music, theater, and other extracurricular activities. What you learn in a classroom is only part of your education.
Actually, this district has a lot of unique challenges, but we also have a lot of opportunities. And I guess I'd just like to go over some of the things that we've done very recently as a board. As far as keeping small class sizes, adding a kindergarten teacher, adding 3 sections of kindergarten, adding 3 sections of first grade, changing from trimesters or semesters to the trimester in a 5-class day, which gives a little bit more flexibility in the schedule and a little more time in class to teach. We've made a decision to maintain an elementary and high school counselor, which in a very small district is highly unusual, but it's a good way to provide individualized assistance and resources to the students that need it. Also supporting and opening the Mini Moose Lodge and offering flexible, convenient, and affordable preschool and school-aged care to families, I think is very, very important. And it also gets kids and families used to coming to this school, which it makes it easier once they move on to just start kindergarten and keep continuing through the program. The other thing, as far as technology, going to a one-to-one program and starting to integrate Chromebooks, so our students have a wealth of knowledge at their fingertips. That's, I think, talking to a lot of the teachers is very interesting. It's an interactive way to teach, and kids are learning at a much quicker rate, and I think it's going to show on some of our test scores. And we have to make sure that our staff has the tools and resources that they need in order to provide the exceptional, expectations and standards we have for our students. We have high expectations here. It shows in our test scores, and we want to maintain that. And from a purely budgetary standpoint, and some things don't make fiscally sense, hiring extra teachers, but some things we have to do just to make sure that we provide the best education possible.
Of course, like Chris says, every program is important. It is very hard to make cuts. And as Steve said, I agree, early childhood is probably the last place that we need to make cuts. I think that if you don't get the kids early and keep them, then you might never get them. I love the Mini Moose program. I think it's one of the best things we've done here at the school. It's going to get us kids in the door, and that's a good thing. It's important to keep the cuts away from the kids as much as possible if we can. But as Chris also said, it's also nice that people can share some of those cuts and not cut one program. Teachers need to feel valued, and we need to retain them, and we also need to feel that their input is important. We just have to look at everything and just make sure that we can balance the budget with what the students' needs are and try to hit our goal of, what is it, 60 days in the fund.
Okay, thank you. We will start this question with Steve. Next question is, some schools have used creative means to balance budgets in these economic times. What are some options the board should consider to maintain a balanced budget while continuing to provide a quality education for our children?
Is this where I get to say bake sale? No. I think that continuing and expanding to use community volunteers, student interns, I think Chris pointed out earlier, grants can be, are very underutilized. Some of those self-sufficiency programs, a garden, an orchard, farm to school programs, and activity boosters, whether they're athletic or other activity booster programs.
Actually, I'm going to put Bob on the spotlight here a little bit because actually there's been a lot of creative things that have been happened here. We, the board, not really, actually Bob appointed himself as the head custodian as a money-saving issue to make sure that the building was functioning. That's kind of an unusual thing for a superintendent to take on, but as a short-term process, it has worked. And actually, he said it's worked very well because he got to learn more about the building and how the daily operations work. But yes, we need to move away from that and probably hire somebody. We looked at the bus routes, and we were able to get rid of a bus route by redoing that, which saved leasing one bus. We've decided to lease buses instead of buy buses, just because the costs are lower on the long term than trying to maintain older buses or continue to buy new ones. We've attempted to minimize our teaching staff through attrition last spring. And like I said, that didn't work very well because we let 2 retire, didn't rehire, and then ended up hiring 3 teachers instead of 2. But once again, that's the flexibility. But there are several little things that we can do, but realistically, the funding formulas at the state level are ridiculous. If you ever try to want to see something, they're almost impossible to figure out. So changes need to be made at the state level. They can't be heavily dependent on property tax, and the amounts should be equal throughout the state per pupil and not based on where you live.
One of the things that I'm hoping that we'll see if we do get a new building is that we'll have a lot of energy saving type fixtures for lights, the LED bulbs, solar panels, better insulation, better windows, all of that. Hopefully that'll reduce the cost of operating our school. We also need to possibly look at grants, if there's grants out there. We've talked in the past about hiring a grant writer. There's not a lot of people who write grants, and it is a special skill. Booster clubs are great. You know, looking at every kind of, I mean, sometimes it's just $1 here and $1 there, but it all adds up. The thing is to just keep those cuts away from the kids as much as possible. Thank you.
I would say we have been creative, and Tom pointed out a lot of the things that we have done, especially with our flexibility. And so we sold the land. We worked with the city. Bob becomes head custodian. We go to bus leasing. We cut a bus route. We cut the library budget, and they now think they're going to have more money than they've had because of people made donations. And at this time, they have 2 organizations that have donated approximately $2,000. So people do step up to the plate when we have to be creative and we're looking for answers. None of this is easy. And once again, I want to emphasize, you got to see the big picture. It is very frustrating when we can't spend our time on the small classes or working with what we want best for the community and stuff, because we've got to make sure that we are financially fiscal, which we should be. We went down to the state capitol. Here's an example. After the flood, we tried. The community spoke. They said the taxes were too high. And we're in a unique position because of our superintendent being part of a task force, because of our community going down to the cities, because all of us talking to state legislatures and stuff. We have a unique chance to be so historic in this community, and it is because we are creative. And so Moose Lake, once again, be loud and proud, because you've got it all. Thank you.
Okay, we will start the next question with Tom. What makes the Moose Lake School District unique and marketable in your opinion, experience, and how do we capitalize on that to increase student enrollment?
I think obviously it's key is the passing the bond referendum. We know that the devastation that happened here, but I think something good's going to come out of this. There's been a lot of talk, a recent open meeting, there was questions regarding the 60%. I want to make sure that people know that what's being offered by the state is unprecedented. It's never happened before. They're offering about 60% of a payment, whether you look at it at 60% of the principal or 60% of the principal of interest. They're looking at paying 60% of what it would cost to be a new school. And that would bring opportunities that I don't think Moose Lake would, I think a lot of people have a hard time visioning what really will happen. We'll be able to provide superior education. There's going to be growth. I think nothing but good can happen from having a new school. And we do have a new school. I think one of our problems is that we have a hard time differentiating ourselves between Rebels and Moose Lake, that sports consortium and what we do in the school. Our test scores are phenomenal. There's only one school, and I'll say it, it's ESCO, that consistently does better. They have a lot of resources that we don't. So we are on par with some of the best schools in the area, and we want to keep it that way. We have an extremely high graduation rate. I don't know if you've watched recently, but they're talking about Twin Cities schools with graduation rates in the 50s. And we consistently are in the high 90s. You know, kids that start school here, finish school here. And we have a high number of kids that participate in extracurricular activities, both sports and in the arts. And we regularly have individuals that are recognized for academic and athletic performance and receive scholarships. I'd like to give an example of my son. I'm very proud of him. He graduated in 2013. He is getting paid to go to school right now. He graduated in 2013 with almost 60 credits, which for you parents that are going to have kids that want to go to the U, that's $20,000 a year, $40,000 that this school district saved in his education. And he's been able to have a lot of opportunities that he never would have had if he would have went to an East High School in Duluth, because he would have just blended in with 20 or 30 other kids out of 1,600. This is a great school, and we really need to support it.
I agree with Tom. I think having a new school is really going to make our district much more marketable, and hopefully will draw a lot of students and people to this community. I think that the fact that we have small class size, especially in the lower elementary, is huge. I think that should be what every parent should look for when they've got young ones in their family. We have 22 college credits right here within our walls. We have a 98% college or graduation rate. That's unbelievable. It's wonderful. We have consistently high test scores. We have a good, strong extracurricular program. We have Math League and Knowledge Bowl and History Club. I mean, the list goes on and on. The biggest problem we have is that we don't blow our own horn often enough. We just need to get more PR. We need to get articles in the paper. We need to, actually it'd be nice if we had extra money to hire somebody to do PR for our school. Because we do a lot of things here that people don't know about, and maybe the parents of the 15 kids that are involved in that group know about the project, but the rest of the community doesn't. And we have so many things to be proud of here, and we really do need to forget about being, people might think we're being, I don't know, too braggy or something, but we have to be, especially in this state with open enrollment. You have to advertise and market your school to get the students to come get in our doors. Thanks.
I believe our school is the center of the community. No kids, no future. We test well. All you have to do is walk down the hallway in the new section, which was built in 1972, and we still call it the new section. 75, excuse me, 72 or 75, a long time ago. Anyway, read those Hall of Fame plaques. Oh my goodness, those kids came out of this building. It is unbelievable. There's a graduate that was in Dubai. He actually started the protocol that they're probably using with Ebola. That's a Moose Lake graduate. There's a picture of the artist. He does pastels. He's hanging in the library. He was just top notch in the city of New York. That's our kids. We had tsunami. When the tsunami hit, we had an exchange student here from Sweden who unfortunately was caught in that. Does that connect our kids to the rest of the world? You bet it does. We are global in Moose Lake. And so we are a part of the world. We need to market how well we are doing. And we do need to brag about our successes. We don't. We're just, oh, that's just usual business. It's not. And people therefore don't always notice us. Test scores, latchkey, mini moose, fine arts, athletics. We give a total experience. I love working on the school board with, there were at one time 4 kids that I taught. And to work with them as adults, that's just awesome. Go down to the hockey rink. Most of the boys that I had an opportunity to coach in hockey, they're coaches and they bring their kids in. It's just great. One day in the parking lot, I heard one of the young mothers was getting out of the car to bring her child, and all of a sudden I heard, "Stop that. Don't you behave that way." And I started laughing because I bet she did the same thing. I know she did when she was in high school. And so she looked at me and we just started laughing. That connection you cannot get unless you experience it. And that's what Moose Lake does. Moose Lake is a great place.
So what makes Moose Lake School District unique and marketable? Teachers, teachers, teachers. If it weren't for my kids' teachers, they probably would not be enrolled in Moose Lake School. We need to continue to recognize and support our teachers and our staff in everything they do. This is how we attract good teachers and staff. This is how we retain the outstanding ones. And this is how we continue to make Moose Lake schools the best that they can be.
Is that all of you? Okay.
I could do it again if you'd like.
All right. Sorry. You'll be disappointed to know, well, you probably already know, that this is the final question we have for you. So you've almost made it through, and you've done a great job, by the way. But this is your last chance to sell yourself, so make it good. No pressure, but just basically, why should we vote for you? And we'll start with Julie.
Well, I wasn't smart enough to prepare any statements for this session tonight, so I will continue to wing it. I have over 20 years experience on this board, and I do really love this community and our school district. I just want it to be the best it can be. I feel very strongly that my input makes a difference. I have a good working relationship with the staff and administration. I enjoy being a part of the team here at the school, and as I said, I want this to be the best it can be for both the kids and for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Schools can be the best of times or the worst of times. They certainly can try everyone's soul, as stated by author Charles Dickens. I am running again for Moose Lake School Board to help attempt to make sure the school district is part of everyone's best of times. Good public education matters. We as a learning community should value education through actively engaging, challenging students, using a broad range of strategies, balancing curriculum standards with the personalization of instruction and experience, and again, creating high expectations in the school culture. Best practices should be followed in all educational areas to develop and maintain quality education, not just a "it is good enough" attitude. Our kids deserve better. They are our investment for the future. As a written line reads, clearly stated instructions will produce multiple interpretations. That's good, but let's work together. I would like to, with the help of students, teachers, parents, community, board members, and administrations, would like to attempt to do the following ABCs. Address education with a vision, build foundations for lifelong learning, collaborate together to strive and thrive, develop best interests for all students, focus on the big picture of public education in Moose Lake, finish the school facilities project. Please vote for me on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
3 important things to remember. Number 1, communication. I want to be part of an open dialogue with the administration, the students, the teachers, and the staff, the community, and the board. Secondly, community. You guys are my friends, my neighbors, fellow church members, fellow parents. I want to represent you and your concerns in the school. And children. My children are here. They just started kindergarten and 3rd grade. They're going to be here for a while. I want to do what's best for them. They'll graduate from Moose Lake. We're here for the long haul. Let's make Moose Lake the best place for our kids and our community that we can.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, I'm going to say something strange that most people that are running for something don't say. I'm not running against anybody. I'm running for the community. I'm running for the school, and I'm running for education. Being a husband, a father, 3 current students, a graduate, being a youth coach, I've coached hockey, I've coached baseball, I've coached softball. I've gotten to know a lot of the kids that are going to school here right now. And with a really diverse background in employment, education, I can really bring a balanced perspective to issues, I feel. I can offer common sense solutions and try to help overcome some of our difficulties. I've had the honor to be able to represent the city of Moose Lake with the flood, as far as to be there in people's time of need with the fire department and ambulance. I've been blessed to have moved here and to have been here for 20 years. And currently I'm excited for this district. I hope that everybody sees what I see, the opportunity that we have, and that we can have a positive impact on this community for generations. And I hope you will please vote for me and also vote for the bond referendum on the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, we would like to thank everybody who came tonight to hear our 4 candidates for the school board. We would like to thank Lisa for being willing to moderate this evening. Thank you to Mr. Thank you to Mr. Indahar for coming and sharing his thoughts about the school board and also to talk about the state of the schools. Thank you to the media for coming to cover this important event. And also, just on behalf of the PTA, we would encourage everyone to become educated about the issues that are out there and get out and vote on November 4th. Thank you.